Bear with me. Okay. This story time. Okay. I hope that this story will inspire anyone, male or female, to get out of an abusive relationship. Even if they haven't even physically hit you yet, say they're manipulating your mind or threatening you, get out and get out now. I promise you, there's so many resources out there. Get out. Hi, Dawnie to the max. I'm going to share with you a story time that's taken me a long time to ever really share with anyone. And sometimes it's easier to do things behind a camera. This story is about during my second year in college, I was in an abusive relationship. It didn't start out that way. We had so much fun. Everything was great. And then the tables had turned. This is too much for me to be on camera. I'm going to continue talking, but I'm going to do straight audio. This is too much for me to handle.
Whew. While in my second year of college, I participated in a lot of activities. I was in the choir, I was on the dance team, I joined a co-ed social club, I participated in SIFE, Students in Free Enterprise. I had a work-study program in the administration office, and I also worked in the cafeteria. However, my downfall was men. But this year, it was going to be different. I'm going to be in a long-term relationship. I went after this one guy. I thought he was cute and had that swag. I told him from the very jump, I don't want to be in a fling. I want to be in a committed relationship. Things were cool and fun in the beginning. Nevertheless, slowly, he would say things to manipulate my thought process. It would be a slow, steady drip of manipulation. Just so you know, physical abuse does not start right away. It's a mental thing first before the beatings ever begin. In the very beginning, he would put me on a pedestal. He would tell me how pretty I am, how he loved my shape, and would tell me the reason why women don't like me is because they're jealous of me. And since I was young and dumb and didn't know any better, this made me feel like I was on top of the world. Here's some bullet points of some of the manipulation that I remember. One day he stated, "You shouldn't hang around those certain girls anymore, especially if you don't want to be considered a hoe." When I think back, those two girls didn't even have that kind of reputation. But I was dumb and in love. Another time, I was telling him I have to try out again for dance team because it's a new year. He was basically Like, well, there's new girls coming in and they might be better than you. And you don't want to have your face in that kind of disappointment. Besides, being out there wiggling your A would make you look like a hoe. Another time, I was in the yard talking to one of my social club brothers, and my boyfriend was walking by and gives me this long stare as he's walking to class. He kept looking back at us. I continued my conversation with my brother. Later on the afternoon, my boyfriend would say, "You shouldn't be talking to a guy that long. You know all he wants to do is get in your pants." Mind you, the guy I was having the conversation with was a cousin of of an ex-boyfriend in my first year of college. So no, he wasn't trying to get with me. Another account, my boyfriend would always talk about his ex from back home. He would say that she never treated him right. I wonder why. This is all I can remember off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's much, much more. So yeah, this was the beginning process of separating me from people that really cared about me. Easter break, we had stayed off campus at a friend's house who was going out of town. I don't even really know how it happened. We were wrestling and he did some move where I couldn't get up and I could barely breathe. So I bent his finger back and that's when he socked me in my back. I had in my mind, when we get back to campus, I'm going to break up with him. On our way back to the school campus, he says, "I know when we get back to campus you're going to break up with me." I wanted to be in love so bad. Me and my dumb self said, well, now I can't break up with him. Another eventful moment, some of these things I don't even remember what the catalyst was. I just remember the impact. There was a time I got body slammed in the middle of the courtyard. And guess what? I was pregnant with his child. Did that matter? We would seek counseling on campus, and in these meetings, the boyfriend would say, "She provokes me." And this guiding counselor only cared about his famous basketball playing uncle, not really caring about my well-being. Back then, people in the police really didn't get involved in what they called domestic disputes. I am so glad that times have changed. I had broken up with him on several occasions, but somehow he would convince me to get back with him. During summer break, I came home, and it's kind of surreal. My mother and aunt wakes me up, takes me to the hospital, and have the baby terminated. I don't even remember putting up a fight. I have bittersweet memories about this. One, I wanted to have the baby, but two, at least I don't have any ties to this abusive man. Here are some more crazy things I remember about the relationship. I don't think these are any particular order. It's just what I remember. Cheated on me so many times. And this was a small campus with only like 500 people, so everybody knew everyone's business. Whew. I remember him raping me behind the school buildings, being choked out a lot to the point of peeing on myself. being dragged across the campus by my neck. At one point, I thought to myself, hey, I filed so many police reports on him, I could just end his life and not spend that much jail time, especially after seeing similar stories on one of those 2020 specials. Yet again, I stayed. At this time, since, as I said, everyone knew our business, we weren't supposed to be seeing each other, so we would sneak off campus and get a hotel room. One of the occasions, the guys came over to hang out with us. And one of the guys mentioned that he and I used to talk. Why in the world did he say that? So after the guys left, of course, I get a beat down and dragged across the carpet, which left my eye pussy. That evening, while he was asleep, I was examining a comb I had. This comb had 3 sides to it. And the bottom part of the comb had like these 3 spikes, and they were metal. So I'm looking at this comb like, I could stab him right now. But since he was a little pudgy, I said to myself, if I stab him, I better kill him, because if he wakes up, I'm going to be in so much trouble. So I didn't do it. The next day, while we were at school, my older cousin comes out of the cafeteria. She looks at me and looks at him. He's sitting on the railing by the back door. And he had the nerve to say, with a straight face, I swear to God, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. I should have pushed him over that railing. My cousin had gotten the family together for an intervention. But I was so mentally brainwashed that I thought I could handle him. I do remember my cousin saying, well, you know, that we could always take him to the backwoods where he would never be seen again. In my head, I was like, that wouldn't work because of his famous uncle. During another semester break, I was working in my grandfather's record store. Had some debt to pay off. When I think about it, that debt came from the boyfriend. And during this time, my boyfriend would call the house every 5 minutes. Finally, my grandmother sat me down and said that she knows what I'm going through, that she had a similar situation with her first husband. She told me that her first husband would throw ice picks past her head while she was on stage singing, and how I need to get out of this relationship. So when I got back to school, I had some newfound strength. However, we were still together, but I wasn't putting up with much of his crap. We were still sneaking off campus to be together. When I got back to campus, the security guard had informed me that my family was looking for me. Interesting. I had told my roommate that I was spending the night with my family. In retrospect, she must have spilled the beans. While talking to the security guard, he reminded me of who I was before getting with this fool. He reminded me that before I got with my boyfriend, I was on the drill team, in the choir, active in social clubs, and a whole slew of other activities. And being with this guy, you aren't doing anything with your life. The next day, I was coming out of the administration office, and this girl wanted to talk to me. Funny thing is, this girl and I didn't get along once upon a time. She sat me down and said, You know, when I first met you, you were a strong woman that wouldn't put up with anything. Why are you letting this man ruin your life? Where's the woman I met when I first came to college? Sometime later, I remember taking a deep look at myself in the mirror and stating to myself, I'm way too pretty for this mess. So these talks from my grandmother, the security guard, the woman, myself, and of course the grace of God gave me more and more strength to get out. One day, my boyfriend and I had gotten into it. And even in the argument, he had the nerve, the absolute nerve, to say, who do you love more, me or your family? This is when I knew that stupid time was over. I told him I didn't want to be with him and went back to my dorm. Later that night, he came to the back of the dorm, throwing rocks up at my window, demanding for me to give him all the things that he ever bought me back, including textbooks and clothes. Since I knew that this was one of his crazy ploys, I gave it all back, throwing the items out of the top floor window. But would he leave? No. Next thing I know, he's on top of the ledge, pleading with me to take him back. I'm yelling back at him. The window gets shattered. My nose is injured. My friends take me to the hospital, and I ended up with stitches in my nose. You would think this is the end. I come back from the hospital, and who's waiting by the back door? We talk. I tell him I don't want to be with him. I wish I had been paying attention while I'm yelling and walking. We end up behind the school buildings, and this is when I say I had my Tina Turner moment. Y'all seen what love got to do with it in the back of the limousine. Yeah, that moment. Even though I knew I couldn't beat him, I was going to put up a fight. So while he got me on the ground, wailing away at me, oh Lord, a couple just happened to be in the area, and the guy gets the boyfriend off of me, and I run back to the dorms. I'm not sure what happened between those two, but I do know they're both alive. When I see the guy's name on Facebook, the one that saved me, I always give him thanks for literally saving my life. For some reason, he doesn't respond. Whatever the case, I'm still grateful that that gentleman literally saved my life. The next day, the boyfriend and I would go before the student council. And the student council basically stated that we're both at fault. The ex gets kicked out of school, never to return again. This was his second time getting kicked out of the same school. My punishment was I could return back to school, but couldn't participate in any extracurriculum activities. That kind of pissed me off because the whole point of getting rid of this fool was to get back to who I was before him. So, in my anger, I quit school. Just for a moment until my family made me return. I only had a year left. Might as well get my paper. Now, you would have thought that this would have been the end of the story. No. 12 years later, I received a letter that went to both my grandparents and my aunt's house. That would be for another video. Like I said in the beginning of this video, if you are in an abusive relationship, get out, and get out now. There's so many resources out there that you do not have to live like this. I thank you all for allowing me to get this off my chest, and hopefully this will save someone's life.
And since I am a survivor, I'm putting this out there for anyone out there. I don't care if you're 9, 10, 11, 12, teenagers, college, 40 years old, 80 years old, get out. There's no excuse not to get out. I know he's manipulating your brain. I know she's manipulating your brain, saying that no one else out there loves you. There are so many resources out there where those people, they're not even taking money in. They just want to help people. Get out, and get out now. Please, 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 please share this. Subscribe, like, just share this with anyone who you may think may be dealing with the same issue. Thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a blessed day.